Sweets, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today is the 1st of April, and well, how do I put this? This is not a prank, at least not by myself, but definitely by Gaijin. So apart from the whole Space Thunder stuff that seems to be currently revolving, that I can't exactly see because I'm doing this, they have added this to the files. This is the Object 279, a tank that has been requested by the community for a long time. Fair spoilers, this was made as a custom user model a few years ago on live.warfront.com. This is not the custom user model. This is actually the one that you can find. Well, this is actually one that was added to the game files. I don't know if this is going to be just a part of an event or if it's actually going to be an event vehicle that you can unlock and then use in the main game. I have absolutely no idea. But since we have access to it, why not give it a bit of a try? So the Object 279 has a bit of an interesting history, right? This tank was made by the Russians to essentially test the concept of making a tank that was immune to atomic blasts. Immune in the sense of at least the tank being able to survive. This is why you have all that extremely sloped armor and tracks on top, and the fuel tanks are actually inside of the tracks. The crew wouldn't be able to survive. Let's just make this very clear. The crew inside would be fried. But the tank itself would actually be able to survive the nuclear blasts and be able to be reused. Now, due to that extreme sloping, this also means that this tank is extremely good at bouncing shots. I don't have a proper meshing set up. In fact, we're going up against T-34s. So I can't give you a proper armor testing right now. But we can have a bit of a test of the mobility and stuff like that. In fact, let's check the mobility whilst we are at it. That T-34 can't exactly penetrate us. Okay, the coaxial seems to be a regular... I mean, it looks like a heavy machine gun, but it behaves like a light machine gun. Also, we just got the inner two tracks turned down, and we can't move anymore, right? So even though only half of our tracks got taken down in the middle, we can't move around anymore. Okay, awesome. So we can't actually test our mobility right now. What about the turret traverse? The traverse seems to be okay, not too bad, not too bad. I'm not quite sure what the gun on this thing is. I'll have to do a search later on and put it as an annotation on the video so you guys can see. Many of you probably already know exactly what this tank is all about. I'm not sure if that thing in the front is supposed to be spaced armor or fuel tanks, but I think that's spaced armor. Or at least some kind of composite armor, because the fuel tanks are supposed to be inside of the tracks. You can actually see how the transmission has a mechanism to go down to the wheels as well, so it is powered to the rear of the track. This thing's rather interesting. Okay, let's see. Does this thing have neutral traverse? It does not. Interesting, it does not have neutral traverse. That is not good. Does the reverse speed is any go? Oh, that's actually not too bad. I mean, there are definitely tanks that reverse faster than this, but 17 km per hour for a Russian tank is actually pretty damn good. You can't really complain about that. Not sure what the top speed is going to be. We are on sandy terrain, so I can't exactly test it out properly, but it seems to be at least able to get up to 35, 40 perhaps. Oh, it's actually picking up speed. You can see the speed on the bottom left corner, by the way. Yeah, 40, 39 km per hour on sand. I'm not sure if this is the absolute top speed or if it's going to be performing faster on road. I might load up another custom mission towards the end of the video just to see what the top speed is actually on paved surfaces. Oh, T-54s, okay, that's actually a proper testing here. I'm not sure what kind of ammo we have loaded, by the way. I'm not sure yet of the ammo types. Once again, I'll have to do a data mine and put it as an annotation on the screen. So you guys will know it before I do, technically, at this point. I would say stock is probably APHE. I have no idea what kind of penetration it has. It seems to be able to go for... Oh! Oh shit, they're actually penning us. No killing of the crew so far, which is good. We can instantly repair with the mission here. It doesn't seem to be able to go for the upper frontal plate, right. The real at least isn't half bad, I gotta give it that. And if you do pen the stud, it does definitely go off. So this does feel a lot like 125. Hopefully I'm not making a fool of myself. I'll put it in annotation later on. Ah, you bastard! So interestingly enough, the turret seems to be relatively easily penetrable. We got a couple hits on the side that seem to have at least have gone off. I'm not sure if we can see any hits elsewhere. It might be that the turret ring is being penetrated here. At least the gun itself seems to be very easily penetrable. This is interesting. Very interesting. Okay, where are you at, boy? Let's smoke pass, and... we can pen the turret of a T-54 at least. That's good. Okay. Let's go through the last one as well. That actually did not do much damage. I was pretty much only spalling, so no proper penetration. We can actually check. Oh, it does have neutral turning, at least. So here's the thing. I'm not sure if it's an error with this model, if we don't have neutral turning, or if it's the bots that has neutral turning and we don't. I'm not sure. More T-54s. Can we go for the upper frontal plate? When it's less angled, we can actually. So this thing actually has pretty high penetration. I like that. Okay, we are on the Poland map on Blitzkrieg. We're just going to let the AI go ahead whilst we actually talk a bit, because I've done some data mining in between the matches. And I can tell you this is not a 125mm gun, this is actually a 130mm gun, which seems to be very similar to the one on the IS-7. The base shell is a... okay, infantry, just ignore my existence, it's fine. Just go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead, it's fine. Right, the base shell is an APCBC shell with 900 meters per second muzzle velocity, 115 grams of explosive filler if I'm not mistaken, and a weight of 33.3 kilograms, which gives it, according to the calculation penetration tool that they have on the Warframe website, gives it a penetration of 312 millimeters. So, very similar to the IS-7. In fact, I believe this is identical to the IS-7, and as such still the highest penetration APHE type projectile in the game. Apart from the stock APCBC shell, you also have a 130mm high explosive shell, so that could be useful in certain situations, even against top tier tanks. And, unlike the IS-7, you actually get a heat shell as well, with 400mm of penetration. This heat shell has a velocity of 920 meters per second, so just barely faster than the regular APCBC shell, it seems. In terms of gun handling, this tank can carry up to 40 shells, it seems, yes indeed. The yaw speed, which should be vertical, I think? No, the yaw speed is the horizontal, is 18 degrees per second, which I believe is the maximum value. Top speed, as you can see, is actually pretty damn nippy. 54 kilometers per hour going down this hill. Can we go any faster? The elevation speed is 4.5, so that's pretty much identical to what you usually have. And yeah, it seems like top speed is about 55 kilometers per hour on the road. That is pretty impressive, to be honest. That's not bad. That's not a bad top speed. As is typical Russian fashion, the vertical traverses are pretty damn horrible. You can elevate the gun apparently up to 17.5 degrees, which is not the worst, is not the best. It's workable, definitely. It doesn't seem to be too bad. However, the depression is sadly only -5 degrees, so don't expect to be hill cresting with this thing anytime soon, for sure. Okay, and I have just figured out the reload speed as well. The fire rate is a flat 7 rounds per minute, exactly, which gives it a reload speed of around 8.5 seconds. I believe this is an autoloader, so losing your loader might not be an issue, although, at the same time, you have a gunner, you have a commander, and you do seem to have a loader, at least. So this might be an assisted loading mechanism where you have part of the ammunition being provided by the autoloader, as well as the other half being provided by the loader itself. So I'm not sure if this is going to be affected by losing your loader, but frankly, with Russian tanks generally, if you get penetrated, you are dead anyways. As you can see, it is a very, very cramped turret space with lots of ammunition everywhere. This has classical Russian turret ejection system syndrome, yes. As for the zoom levels, not much of a difference really. Zoomed out with the standard gunner sight, you have a 10 degree FOV, zoomed in only a 90 degree FOV. So, not exactly the best kind of sight for long range sniping, but it is workable. However, the little difference between being able to zoom in and zoom out really makes it for a not very versatile kind of tank. So we don't have access to it right now because 1, this tank is stock, and 2, it is broad daylight. But you can actually see the night vision infrared spotting light on top of the tank over there. So this confirms that this tank does indeed get night vision. No thermals, however. Again, Russian tank, don't expect to get much in terms of thermals. Alright, and finally, as for mobility, as I mentioned before, I don't seem to have access to any kind of neutral steering, although it would not surprise me if it does indeed get neutral steering, because, let's be honest here, these tracks are absolutely massive, and oh. Ah, look at that ass. But, we have the weight, and do we have the engine power? We do, okay, so, the weight of this tank is 58.4 tons, which is rather on the heavy side. However, it also has a 1000 horsepower engine, which, let me quickly do the calculation, which actually gives it a pretty respectable power-to-weight ratio of 17.1 horsepower per ton. Definitely not on the fastest side, but definitely not on the slowest side either, given that this is a heavy tank with a big cannon. Oh. Speaking of heavy tanks with, well, not exactly big cannons, but big things. You can actually see the size comparisons here between the Object 279 and a T35. It's honestly not too far off. Okay, the T35 definitely beats us in terms of length, as is to be expected, but given the extreme sloping of the hull of the 279, you can actually see that the crew compartment itself is pretty small, pretty standard for a tank, but because the lip extends so much forward, as well as because of the transmission in the back extending so much backwards, this is a pretty damn long tank with an even longer cannon. In fact, we have the T35 easily beat when it comes to the width. Look at that. Now that is a thick pancake. From above it just seems like a boat, to be honest. Ooh. Does the Object 279 float? I should also mention, yes, this has a stabilizer. I forgot to mention this earlier. Alright. So, I can't quite remember off the top of my head. I've heard somewhere that this thing was supposed to be able to at least wade through water in some degree with a snorkel. I am not sure if this thing can float. It looks like a boat for sure, so maybe. At the same time, it's 60 tons, so I would be very skeptical of this thing actually being able to float. In any case, let's try it out very slowly. Come on, tell me this does not look like this looks like a boat. This looks like a boat. This is just straight up a boat. I wonder actually, could this be a very good tactic, having it in low water? Because shells tend to bounce off of water at angles like these. And because we have a fuel tanks in the tracks, it should make them pretty easy to set on fire. So if you can set yourself in the water like this, could you prevent yourself from catching on fire from the fuel tanks? I don't think this thing floats. Nope, it doesn't seem like it's floating. It's, in fact, looks a bit like a submarine. And we're drowning! Ah, screw it. Comrades! Let's fight capitalist sukas underwater. I seek submarine for the motherland. Bliet! Can I just mention how absurdly long this cannon is? It's even longer than the i7s, it seems. Quite a bit longer, actually. And it's so long, in fact, we can barely clear the camera. This is some definite Object 120 vibes. In fact, it's very similar to the i7, both in length and... Okay, we have it beat in width, to be fair, but... These are very similar tanks in the general concept, just except that one looks still kind of like a normal tank, and the other one is just a massive monstrosity. Okay, so I have figured out the proposed battle rating as it currently stands in the files for the Object 279, and it's 8.3. Now, keep in mind this might change. In fact, as I'm recording this, they have just announced the This and some other vehicles. There's actually a Sonderkraftfahrzeug 234-2 coming, which is the Puma with the 20mm gun, which I'm kind of excited for, completing the quartet of Sonderkraftfahrzeug 234. But yes, this is going to be a rank 7 event tank with a battle rating of 8.3 currently. Again, this might change. I'm not quite sure how the armor values are going to be holding up. Like I can kind of see the armor values for each individual plate, which makes it very hard to actually get an overall idea of the armor without being able to access the armor viewer. I would say the hull is pretty much impenetrable on this thing. However, it seems like we were penetrated quite easily by T-54s even on the turrets. So this might be the balancing factor, I have no idea. 8.3 seems like a pretty interesting battle rating for it. It's still going to be facing HeatFS and stuff like that. Although I don't think HeatFS is going to be a massive issue for the hull. I'm not sure how strong the hull is against APF SDS, which it will face as well. And of course, anything through the sides might be an issue, or might not be, because keep in mind. Okay, so here's the thing, right? With the IS-7, what you usually had to do to defeat this thing, even with a Panzer IV F2, was hit the lower area where the tracks are essentially mounted. Because there, the armor is flat and it's only 100mm thick, so even Panzer IV F2s can go through that thing and one-shot the tank from the side. The Object 279 is one of the only Russian heavies that doesn't go by that principle. You still have the sloped underside, right? So that's going to be bouncing everything. But the flat bit isn't there. The flat bit is just a fuel tank. It doesn't go into the main crew compartment. So if you aim for that flat bit, all you're going to be doing is maybe set the fuel tanks on fire. If you're lucky. If they don't get just outright absorbed. Other than that, you're not really going to be doing anything to the crew if you shoot at this thing from the side. I'm not sure how thick the plates are on the side of there, but given the extreme angle, I would not be surprised if they just bounce everything off. So this is yet another Russian heavy tank that's extremely trolly from the front and from the sides, and perhaps even from the back when you think about it. You have this massive transmission, the massive tracks, the engine, everything. If you don't aim for the back of the turret where all the ammunition is, even trying to kill this thing from the back is going to be a massive, massive issue. Now, I don't know what the top plate armor is going to be like, so maybe it is vulnerable to air attack, but knowing Russian heavy tank design, it's likely going to be having some pretty damn strong roof armor as well, at least strong enough to deal with most aircraft cannons. So if this thing does release at 8.3 with a 300mm penetration ABCBC shell, HeatFS with 400mm penetration to deal with enemy heavies, for example, that you can't deal with your ABCBC shell for whatever reason. 8.5 second reload, okay, is kind of slow, but given the power of the shell, it's not too bad, really. Decent mobility, up to 55 km/h on paved ground. That's actually really good. I don't know. Keep in mind, the T10M is also at 8.3. They currently have the exact same battle rating value in the file. So if this thing actually does release at the same battle rating as the T10M, well, I don't think I need to tell you this thing is vastly superior to the T10M, right? It's just there is no comparison. Anyways, lads, hopefully you have enjoyed this small preview of the Object 279. I'm going to be trying and getting my hands on the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 234-2 Flakwagen? I don't know what the exact name of it is. Essentially the Puma with the 20mm gun, right? So that might be a next little clip. Probably not as in-depth as the 279 because this thing is way more interesting. And yeah, hopefully you guys have a very happy April Fools. And don't worry, I'm not going to be saying April Fools because this is completely real. My April Fools video is coming up. Actually, probably not today. Damn it. Anyways, I'm probably going to be live streaming as well. So, bye!
You can lift your head up to the sky. Take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find